That's not a good way to start a hike. Finally we got out of the house for another hike. Kids have been home doing all kinds of homework and preps for the schools they're gonna go to, all kinds. I'm super busy with the school. Anyway, we're hiking in the woods. We are up at the memorial. We were earlier in the summer, but we're going on a different path to get to the top. So it's gonna be a cool view. Now, topic for today's video. What I want to talk about is why don't software makers implement features that customers are asking for? And there's just been so many times using different software and seeing that it's lacking a feature or two or something else, and you email tech support, you tell your salesperson, you tell whoever, saying, look, we desperately need this, we absolutely desperately require that feature. And what do? We get nothing. We get completely ignored. And that's something that's been bothering me for years and years and years. And well, let me throw my opinion as to why I think that is the case. Now, of course, we are gonna need a couple of examples here, so let's pick on two of my favorite applications, law and relativity. So what features have people been asking for and they haven't been implemented? For law, let's pick sort date. Now, since they were owned by Image Capture or LexisNexis, sort date is such an essential feature and it was never added to law. Now that they're owned by Cloud9, I don't know if it's been done or not. Maybe you can put it in the comment section below. Let me know if Law Prediscovery generates sort date automatically during ingestion of data. But again, that's such an essential feature that it should have been created from day one, and it was just never done, and we always had to do it manually. And I know people do it in Excel, and I used to have SQL scripts, and I wrote VB application. So there were always workarounds we had to do to create sort date in law. Okay, so what about relativity? What feature they did not create? Well, again, I'm gonna pick an easy one, low-hanging fruit here. Searchable PDFs. People in community forums been asking for years and years, like literally years, been asking, we need proper searchable PDF export. And to that, relativity gave them like this really terrible mass operation, save as PDF. It was just absolutely horrible implementation. It was not what people wanted. It gave sort of like maybe, you know, enough to put a checkbox on the list, like yes, it does searchable PDFs, but it was not a solution people wanted. And to this date, Relativity still doesn't have a proper searchable PDF export option. And what people want, they want to take entire production, you know, 10,000, 100,000 pages, and export that into searchable PDFs named by control number without adding any kind of prefixes to it or doing anything stupid, just normal export, which you would get from a desktop client, but in a searchable PDF format. So why do software makers do that? Why don't they implement features that people ask for? I think the reason number one is features are prioritized that are designed to sell the software and not necessarily to support existing customers. See, once you bought the software, you're in it. You're not gonna switch because like a feature or something is missing. However, when you have a potential sale and somebody goes like, oh, well, we'll buy it, but since it doesn't do that, we can't, so we need that feature. And I mean, immediately you see salespeople running with engineering team and everyone's like, how quickly can we get this feature in so I can make a sale? So I think that's one of the reasons is features are prioritized to sell the software, not necessarily to support existing customers. Ew, it's wet and dirty. Yuck. And the next reason on my list is because software makers listen to the loudest people. People who yell about, we need this feature, we have to have this. People who travel to conferences, people who go to meetings, people who be in public and sort of open that participate in online activities as well as, well, physical social activities, trade shows and so on. So those are the people who voice their opinion as to what is needed, what features to implement. Who they should really listen to are the people who actually stay back in the office and actually use the software. People who go out and say, oh, we need this feature because it's so and so. They may not even be using that software. They're just talking out of theory and they're just yelling out loud like how this is important. And to a person who's doing work, that feature is not important at all. Now, I believe there's another place where a lot of energy goes in the development area, and it is competing with other software. So whenever you have a brochure and the software says this one does this one does that, and there are all these comparison charts, well, the companies want to make sure that their software is as complete as possible so they can check off all the checkboxes on the marketing brochure. So that's what the part of the race is, to make sure that they're competitive with others. Now, whether that feature is implemented correctly or not, that's a totally different story. But yeah, this is where companies prioritize developing new features to compete with others, as opposed to trying to support existing customers who already invested in using the software. So here's my final thought. And this idea came to me about a year ago after I heard something, probably 3 years ago or so. So at Relativity Fest, they have this inspirational speakers that come out and they talk about their topics. And about 3, maybe 4 years ago, they had two gentlemen, Chip and Dan, and they came out to talk about how business needs to overwhelm their client with a certain feature. Like, it doesn't have to be a big feature, it doesn't have to be necessarily a big deal, but it has to be something special. And one of the examples they talked about is how there is a hotel that it was just a regular hotel, nothing fancy, like just cheap, boring hotel. But what they had is they had a phone by the pool, and whenever you pick that up, a person in a suit comes out and brings you any ice cream you want, as much as you want. And that was the only feature that hotel had. And because of that, it made it successful and so on. So this is where that realization came to me, is these companies, they don't want to just create features to meet the user requirements. They need to go for these outstanding features, something that really brings the attention to them. Because if they simply were to add the sort date or searchable PDF or whatever, what they're saying is they're going to just whelm the user. They're going to match the expectations, and that's not going to take them too far. All right, so the way down is going to be more difficult than the way up. I'm going to need both hands, so I'm going to have to put the camera away. Anyway, let me know if you agree, disagree. Are there other reasons why software makers don't implement features that users are asking for? I want to know. Am I missing one? What's the deal with that? Please put it in the comment section below. Follow on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, do all the social media stuff you should do, comment, like, all that. I'll see you next time.